Hi guys, it's Corrine, and I wanted to share with you a completed album that I made. It's a wedding album, and this is also my guest design team project for Craft Supplies 1. And the paper that I've used is Prima Something Blue. This is absolutely stunning paper, and the only thing I have left besides a few little scraps are 2 pages of cutouts, and I've already used all these in the books, so that way I wasn't going to use them again. So that's the only thing I have left. Not only have I used this entire collection because I made 2 larger albums, but I also used some digital papers as well. So I'll show you as I go through. And I have 2 of these albums. These are 8 by 10. And on the front of the album, I used a muslin flower that I made with a rhinestone buckle and pearl in the center. I have some baker's twine in the back. I have some satin ribbon and ivory back here. And I have some of these beautiful mesh bling that I got from Craft Supplies 1. I will put the link in the description box below. And as you can see, I just cut them apart and used them. This is absolutely gorgeous. I love this. Is probably my favorite bling I've ever used. I have some tags that were in the collection, and it says just married, and I printed out the date of their wedding just to personalize it. And I also used some tulle here on top just to kind of soften the bling down. I used some of this silver pearl spray, which again is from Craft Supplies 1. I've never used that before and I loved it. I thought it went perfect for the wedding theme. On the front here I did a closure. I used a Tim Holtz closure, and I used a hairband, an elastic hairband to adhere that. And I used Laura Dennison's Stack the Deck binding system. Hers is my favorite. I use it on all the albums. And again, this is 8 by 10. I made it large because I did not want to cut this paper down. I wanted to use as much of the paper as possible to let it, let that show. On the side I have some trim that I had in my stash, some satin trim, which I thought went perfect again for the wedding theme. And excuse me, it might be a little hard to tell, but it matches the satin ribbon here, and just some of this beautiful paper on the back. And here's the closure on the back. I used a large eyelet. So the front page is, and you can see the back of the Tim Holtz. Because I decided to add a closure afterwards, the book was a little bit thick, so normally I would have hid that under the paper, but I really don't mind the way it looks. On the front here I made a large flip up, again using that bling from Craft Supplies 1, and I just cut it apart and added it on the base of this bracket shape. And this is a magnetic closure. It opens up to reveal a large photo on here and the top as well. The first page, this is paper that I printed out. I thought it went perfect with the collection. It's called Always Do. It's a wedding theme. And I printed out And They Lived Happily Ever After on the front of it. 2 hearts here. And I have a large mat and a couple tags from the collection. So this paper just says just married. That's why I wanted this on the first page. This paper here also, by the way, I printed out myself. So here's some tags. These are from the collections. And then this is a tag that it matches this paper here that I printed out. And I put a clear sticker that says to have and to hold. I don't know how well you can see. Yeah, I guess you can see that. I put a couple eyelets with a tulle bow here. And this is glitter tulle. I put a heart that hangs and some flat back pearls. So again, large photo, journaling, whatever she'd like or they would like. Every pocket has one of the tabs that I pull out mat that I do for mini albums. However, this is large. This is probably 7 by 9, I believe. So the next page is another pocket. I printed this out, and I got this quote from the Silhouette online store. It says, "Once in a while, in the middle of an ordinary life, love gives us a fairy tale." I thought that was perfect for this. And I used the flower here. This is from the Always Do paper collection. I used the flower as my guide for the same color, so it matched. I have some flat back pearls here. I have a bracket pocket that I made. And again, lots of tags from the collection. Keep calm and plan on. Love the colors in this. This one says, "Say yes to the dress." And then here is a large photo mat. I used some pearl trim that I had in my stash, and I added a bow with a flat back pearl. They can also add photos directly into these pockets if they'd like to, and adhere one on the back as well. On the side here, I used a large filigree flower that I got from Craft Supplies 1. This is how it looks. I added a little bit of white picket fence on it, distress paint, and then I just wiped it off with a paper towel, so it's just a little bit to tone it down. And in the center, I used a heart charm, or it's a flat back resin piece. So this is a magnetic closure where the couple can add a photo here if they'd like, but I made a large pocket so they can add a dozen photos probably in this pocket. I know I've gotten a dozen photos in the smaller albums that I usually make. Gorgeous paper. On this side, I printed out a piece from Marion Smith Designs, her garment collection. I love that it went so great with this. I used an Allie Edwards stamp that says "So Totally Thankful." I used some more of this bling from Craft Supplies 1. And I made 2 tags for the pocket. This one is from that paper line that I used. I used some black seam binding, and I added one of the acrylic flowers that I received from Craft Supplies. They came like this. This is the only one I have left. I've used them all already. I love these. They're dimensional too. And I just took the wire off, and it has a buttonhole. I just cut that with my wire cutters, just so it sits a little bit flatter. And I thought that went great with this collection. On this side, I used one of the faceted buttons that I received from Craft Supplies and added a little twine in it, and I put their initials on the tag. And again, I printed this paper out. So these just sit in the pocket here. Again, a pull-out mat. Every page has one. On this side, I got this idea from Neen. She's JJ Showers, and I thought it was such a great idea. I asked her if she minded if I used it on mine. It's a heart that I printed from the paper and added some of this beautiful lace. Again, this is from Craft Supplies 1, and it's white lace 41. It's very delicate, super pretty lace. And it's a pocket, and on the side I put "Blessed Beyond Measure." I know it's upside down, but hopefully you can see that. And then this is from the paper collection. I used an EK Success Punch to put the paper in here. On this side, I used again some of that same lace and also some flat back pearls that Julie had sent me from Craft Supplies 1, along with her flowers. So these are pink roses with a white rosebud. I made a little bouquet out of them, very dimensional, super pretty. So a photo can still be added back here. Again, another pull-out mat. And the other album I made is very similar to this. Some of the papers are in the different order, but very similar. Here's another tag from the collection. I added that to the page. If they want to cover that up with a photo, they can. And down here at the bottom, this is a Wild Orchid Crafts gardenia flower. I used another one of the acrylic flowers from Craft Supplies 1. I have a shabby trim flower back here that I had in my stash. I added a seam binding bow. I added some pearl sprays. And down here I added some leaves that I cut from my cameo and a doily in the back. And then I just left this beautiful paper for this side. Here I use some of the pink mesh bling from Craft Supplies one. Again, I love this and I thought the pink went great with this paper collection. I use some Prima flowers and one of the Craft Supplies one faceted buttons again. On this side I did a waterfall bracket slide so they can add photos in here, and it's open at the bottom so a large photo can be added. Journaling can be added here. I use some white satin, or excuse me, some white Hug Snug. It's actually ivory Hug Snug, and some tulle. Another pocket or mat. On this side I made a pocket. I used some of the American Crafts glitter tape. I used some of the Craft Supplies one mesh bling in pink. I made a bow and I added another one of those flat back resin hearts from Craft Supplies one, and I made a little book that I cut out Mr. and Mrs. from my cameo, and I painstakingly added all these pearls. It comes, I got these from Craft Supplies one as well. It's the same pearls that I used down here, so it does come in a string, but when you're adding it around the heart I had to cut it apart and add it on, you know, in pieces. So I thought it was well worth it though. I thought it turned out great. And on the inside are 2 pockets that they can add more photos, journaling, some of those tags, whatever they'd like. And this paper that's the Mr. and Mrs. I printed myself, and I used that same paper for this bow here so it matched. Again, I left this paper alone. On this side it says, "Today was an amazing day." I printed that from one of my collections that I have. I added some flat back pearls in the 4 corners. I added some seam binding, and I cut apart one of these that I received from Craft Supplies one. I added that to the middle, and this is, it has a magnetic closure as well. It opens up to add more photos. And on the side here is another one of those pockets. It has magnetic closure so they can add lots more photos to as well. On the side here I have a Tim Holtz memo clip with some more of those tags from the collection. And on the back here I used my cameo and I cut a large coin envelope and added some pearl brads, and then they can add lots more photos in this as well. So the only thing I have left is I'm debating whether or not to add this on here with their last name and Tim Holtz ornate frame. I added some glossy accents in the middle, and it did discolor it just a little bit. So I haven't decided yet. I haven't added it on there, but I will most likely do that. It does kind of just give it an aged look. So I haven't determined that yet. And then here is the other album. Like I said, it's identical. It's for a different wedding, so it has a different date on it, but besides that, it's very similar. So I hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section below. And again, I will leave a link to Craft Supplies one's Etsy and Zibbit store in the description box below, where I got a lot of these products. Thanks for watching.